Let's see, guys, I know it's early, but I'm trying to get an early start today. Morning. Figured we'd do this. I was up. I figured some of y'all was up. Why not? It's dark, isn't it? Let me see. That didn't help at all, did it? Hang on. That probably will. That'll help. These ones won't. Come on, Mike. You took a basic photography class. You know that light there versus light there. I just want to make sure enough light because it's not all that bright this morning. It's only 6:30. Morning. How are you, Mr. Douglas? You know what? I was laying in bed until about 20 minutes ago. I was responding to some emails, doing a little customer interaction, you know, stuff like that, business stuff. And I was just thinking, while I was watching a couple YouTube videos, I don't understand how some channels, not trying to pick on any channels. Morning, Barry? Barry, yeah, haha, got it. Hang on a second, I'll be right back. I'm holding that thought. Some channels, I don't understand how some channels. I'm thinking to myself, so there are some YouTube channels that are immensely popular that simply do certain things. I mean, like there's this one, I can't think of the name of the channel, and the guy reads off of cue cards, obviously, and his presentation is dry toast as fuck. And you're like, what in the fucking actual fuck am I watching? And he talks like this, and then he raises and modulates his voice like this, and I'm like, but you don't actually see him. He's like telling a story. And you're just like, how monotone and plain can you be? But at the end of everything, he ends it on a high note, makes every fucking thing he says sounds like a fucking sentence. I was like, how's he have 1 million subscribers? And why the fuck am I watching it? And then I was like, the remote's all the way over there and I can't, it's too far, so far. No, I watch YouTube stuff and I was like, I can't like put my finger on the formula that what makes certain YouTube channels so popular, because I'll find stuff I watch and I don't look and see how many views a channel has and how many subscribers it has. I don't. But every once in a while you'll be clicking through stuff and you'll watch a video, and as you click out of it, it'll take you back to the main menu, especially on the TV, and you'll see that it's got like it's been up for 6 days and it's got like fucking 800,000 views, and I'm like, that's what my whole channel has over its lifetime. I'm like, how the fuck does that get that many views? And I'm looking at the thumbnail and I'm looking at the title. I'm like, I don't fucking get it. I can't put 2 and 2 together. It's the thumbs up and thumbs down, guys. 6 of you, 1 thumbs up. 6 of you, 1 thumbs up. 6 of you, 1 thumb. I'm kidding. Yeah, it's a special kind of morning. I've been up since 5. That's your thumb. Now there's 3 of them. I sharpened a knife for a guy on the bottom of this coffee mug and honed it on the side of another one. Because the glaze on the outside, this one, I didn't want to do it on this one. I like this coffee cup. It's my Haunted Mansion. It's my Haunted Mansion coffee mug because we haven't gotten to go to Disneyland in 2 years. It's one of those expenses we don't have the money for. So I thought maybe we'd go this year because money is not as tight, especially we sold off some property. I did just get, we sold some property back home and my mom sent me a cashier's check for like my portion of it from the family farm. And so, I mean, I have put money in my bank account and paid off some debt and things like that here this week. That's what, not yesterday, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. That's what the day before yesterday wound up being. But the fact is still though, it's not, for us to go to Disneyland, last time we went to stay, we usually go for a couple days. We go over Thanksgiving, and it's about, when you get the tickets, I get the tickets on base. I get them fairly cheap for a 3-day park hopper. And we could drive up for 3 different days, but it just makes more sense to go at once over a holiday, especially at Thanksgiving. There's 2 reasons we're not going this year. This year, it just doesn't make sense to spend that kind of money. And then the other one is, it's so crowded. They just did that whole change to the park with the Star Wars Land area that we just can't go. But even if it wasn't that, like even financially this year, it doesn't make sense to try and plan a trip to Disneyland because they don't do special military days. What they can do is, well, kind of. Yeah, 8 people, only 5 thumbs. Earlier it was fucking 6 people, only 1 thumb. What they do is you can go to, if you're retired or active duty, you can go to the base, what they call MWR, ITT ticketing, to travel and tours, and you can buy tickets at a very reduced rate. I think for 3 days park hopper, I think it's $144 per person. That's what you pay one person 1 day at the gate. So if you were to go non-military affiliated and show up and buy a ticket for yourself at the gate, it's like $144. So I can get 3 days for the price of 1. It's still expensive. I mean, that's still pushing almost, what are we looking at? We're pushing what, $500 just on tickets, and then you can get park hopper. So you're still pushing $400 on tickets, and then you're pushing $400 or $500 on tickets. And then you look at a hotel room, and we don't ever get an expensive hotel because I love Disneyland. We get in that park, we don't leave until that place is closed. We don't leave. We would get a hotel, a little hotel on the outskirts, down on like Catella. We stayed at a place called the Alpine. It was real nice. It was like fucking $90 a night, $80 a night. It was cheap. And it was exactly like I treat this house. What does it not do that you want it to? Like when I talk to my wife about lodging, when I talk about this house, what does this house not do? Does it leak? Do we get wet when it rains? Because that's the big one. So a hotel has got to, 1, it's got to have a place for me to sleep. 2, it's got to be clean. Like I don't want it dirty. I'm not saying I'll stay at a dirty, rundown rat hole motel. 3, I got to have some place to bathe. So 1, it's got to be clean. I got to have some place to sleep, and I've got to have some place to bathe. That's the requirements of a hotel for me. I don't even have to have a TV. So we find these little places, and there are some really nice little hotels that you can get some really good deals on, like a mile walk from the park. Now, a mile walk is not that far. So what we do is we get up. The last place we stayed at was on the backside, and we came up, and then we just walked. We walked the mile. We have a jogging stroller. We can still put my daughter in. She still fits. And don't get me wrong, she might be 11 years old, but after a day at Disneyland, that kid will take times where she gets in that stroller and sits down and rests. And I mean, it's a nice thing because we can put the cooler in it and have lunch. I think she's gonna be too big for it though this year. I think she's gonna be too big. After this year, I think that's one of those things that's just gonna be, you know, because I don't know if you guys know this or not. Disneyland will let you, well, they may have changed some of the rules. I did notice that their security has changed at the entrance points. But you can take pretty much anything you want in the park as far as food and drink, as long as it's not in a glass container. I've gotten knives and stuff into that park a bunch of times. But their security has gotten really good. And here's the thing, I met one of the guys that is their security guys, and I mean, they're fucking squared away. They hire quality people. You'd be better off attacking. If you were a terrorist, you'd have an easier time getting away with something like that in a hotel in a populated city or at a military installation than you would at Disneyland. I'm telling you right now. Oh, that coffee's good. I had a hankering. Y'all can look that up. That's a country term. I had a hankering for some U-Bahn coffee. I haven't had it in a long time. I love U-Bahn coffee, but then I'll get tired of it, and so I bought a thing of U-Bahn coffee. Even though I've got the stuff that David sent me, I wanted some U-Bahn coffee. So I bought a small thing of it. I'm having U-Bahn coffee this morning. My wife likes it too, so she can have some of that coffee when they get it. They went ice skating. They left. They were gone when I got up at 5. So, guys, who else is going to USN? Who's going to be at the gathering? Who's going to meet me at the gathering? Because like I said, it's like a birthday present. Jason, the guy that had us go to the Las Vegas show for him as a proxy, to the Cali Custom show for him as a proxy, has asked us to go again to the gathering in Vegas as a proxy. So, that being said, that winds up being my birthday present. 9 people. I saved this article for someone and intended on putting it in a box with their stuff and then forgot. So now it goes in the trash. I have bills that I have to pay. I'm gonna call these people and I'm like, sir, we've been trying to get you to pay this bill for a while. I was like, yeah, well, probably should put something red on the fucking envelope. Added it got my attention. It's the company that provides me with my CPAP machine. I should probably pay them before they come and take the motherfucker back. I owe them $78.10 and have for about 2 months. But I have other stuff here that is. Get that Microtech letter opener out of my pocket. That's so much better now that it's actually sharp. Official notification, debt consolidation funding up to $35,000. It's good paper they used. Let's see what's in Mike's junk mail. SoFi, personal loans up to $100,000, absolutely no fees. Start a business, they said. It'd be fun, they said. It won't fill your mailbox up, which, oh shit. I lost my mailbox key and have not been able to check my mailbox for 2 days. I bet it's rife with fucking garbage that has been accumulating. VA eligibility notice. Select property. We have good news. Interest rates are as low as they are in 2 years. As a VA loan holder, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs allows you to combine your mortgage with other debt. Plus, I have no other debt. This house is the only debt I have. Honestly, up until the time we bought this house, we didn't even have credit cards. I owed no one anything. This house currently is the only debt I have. All $280,000 of it. So many more things I could have done with $200-something thousand, $296,000. But in Southern California, we bought a, hey, they did put something red on it. They just didn't put it on the envelope. And there's red in here. They want that money. Dear Mr. Emler, how can we persuade you to pay your delinquent account? Well, I'll pay you today. What's the date on this one? I'll make up some excuse as to why I haven't paid him. So maybe you should put the envelope in red. Like if I owe you money, put something in red. Say, hey, fucker, pay us. Because it looks so much like the other garbage mail that I get. All right, I'm gonna call him. You guys wanna watch me call him pay past due debt? Let's do this real quick. You guys get to just hang out just real quick. No, I can't because I have to give them my credit card number. They don't have a credit card number on file. I'll call them as soon as we're done with this. I'm not gonna keep you guys on here too long. I have a ton of stuff to do this morning because I am going up Fair and Forge today. I have not seen my friends Chris or Elliot in, it's been forever. It's been almost 2 weeks. I didn't see them last week before they went to Blade Show. So, because I didn't feel good and I didn't want them to get sick. So, I think I should stab this on my, remind myself so I do not forget to pay this. There we go. So I will forget to pay this. I literally will walk away from this and not pay this bill. I gotta go fucking, I forget this stuff because you know the first thing that's gonna pop in my head when I walk away from here? I get customer stuff, pack out and mail off. I will, as much as people give me a hard time about stuff, use the ice pick. Broke the tip off that ice pick the other day. I had to grind a new tip on that. As much as people give me a hard time on the internet, and like I said last night, that one guy that I talked to on Instagram that fucking just out of the blue contacted me and then called me and he was like, look, they're just jealous. I've worked for myself for 22 years. He's like, they're just jealous. They're upset that you can pick and choose how you spend your workday. He said they're stuck in a cubicle farm and they're just fucking jealous, so fuck them. I was like, I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. He said he watches me on YouTube, but he doesn't comment. He doesn't do the comment thing. So I know you're here. He said he watches every morning, watches live feeds. So he said, joke them if they can't take a fuck. And I was like, oh, my dad used to say that. And he goes, well, Dad sounds like a wise man to me. And I was like, yeah, I like you more and more the more we talk. So yeah, I think you know what? I kind of joked about it and I said it, but him saying it, coming from somebody that has run a business for that long. I think he said he has a machine shop, runs a machine shop. Just single man operation, does just small single piece machining. But I think he's right. I think that's what it is. I think people just get jealous because they see me getting to do what I want to do and I'm able to keep a house over my head and I have a fucking happy family and I've got a beautiful daughter and a wife and I get to do stuff that they can't do. And I think that's just what it is. I think that's what it is. And I feel bad for him. Because it's not. they shouldn't they shouldn't be jealous because I'm not gonna lie, this isn't as much fun as it seems to be from time to time. Um, no, but what I was saying is, as much as those people ridicule me, I put off the things that I need to do for myself because I actually, my wife says it, that I give a fuck more about you guys than I do about me or her, and she gets mad. I will forgo doing things that I know need done around the house to make sure a customer's item is packed up and shipped, because that's customer service. That's how I would want to be treated, and so this has got to happen. This has to happen. I have to pay this. I do not need a collections agency calling me. So if you guys have stuff that winds up sitting, it's not for lack of trying, guys. I don't want anybody to ever think that I just fucking, your stuff just sat because I just didn't want to do it. I got something in the skin behind my neck. It feels like I got a little burr or a piece of metal or something. I think when I was grinding the last time, I had my respirator on, and I think I got a little piece of metal back here because I can feel it, and it's like when you get a little metal splinter in your finger. I think I got it behind my ear. It's just fucking driving me nuts. It's been bugging me for a couple of days now. Either that or I got a whisker. Every once in a while I'll get a weird whisker that will grow up there, and it gets like ingrown and it just starts to pop, and I'll have to have my wife dig it out. So, what's everyone got planned for Father's Day weekend? Did I set this up for live? And there we go. There we go. Now it's set up for live. Hang out with friends and sharpening knives. Don't sharpen your knives, send them to me. I will wish you all a happy Father's Day now, because there's probably not gonna be a video this weekend. I'm gonna go up to the shop today. I think that's what that is. I think that's just a hair. I'm going up the shop today, and then I'm probably gonna be there tomorrow as well. And I'd like to say we had plans for Father's Day, but the fact is my wife and daughter are going to be skating all day on Father's Day. So I'm going to be here at the house all by myself, just stuck here. I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. That's how I keep a roof over my head. You know, I was talking to the guy. He's like, oh, you should just open up a shop, just do full. That's all you should do is refinishing. And I don't know if you guys know this or not. Truly, I lose money when I'm refinishing knives. I enjoy doing it. It's an aspect of the business that ties everything together. It's like that bridge between the sharpening, the making, that refinishing is a middle ground where I can kind of do a little of both and still make a little bit of money. I was telling a guy, he's like, I quoted him a price. This is where this all comes from. I quoted him a price of, he wanted an elaborate refinish. And I quoted him a price of like, I think $200 bucks for the refinish he wanted. He goes, wow, that's more than I pay for a knife. And I was like, yeah, but here's the thing. He's like, $200. He's like, that's crazy. And I'm like, it's going to take me at least a day, if not two. And he goes, well, yeah, but that's like your job. And I was like, no, wait. Okay, I wanted to make this implicitly clear to you, sir. I don't want to sound like a prick when I do it. If I sit at my workbench and I sharpen knives for an hour, I will make $100. I guarantee. If I sit at my workbench for a good day, if I have a good day at my workbench and I have a bunch of stuff, I could be making the equivalent of $300 or $400 in a day. I'm going to take your knife up to the shade. Even on a bad day, I could make $300. Like a good day, I could make a good bit of money at the workbench. Because you figure if I can sharpen 3 knives an hour, that's $75 an hour. minimum-ish. You know, and granted, there's expenses. The lights, yeah, I keep the lights on. I have to buy fucking stones. I got to keep the. You know what the most expense that I have right now is the medium for flattening stones. That aluminum oxide powder. It's like $5 for a small bag. I'm gonna find someplace else to source it because I'm going through it pretty quick. Because I have to flatten stones and stuff like that. And the electric bill, the water bill, and stuff like that. So, I mean, yes, there's cost involved, there's overhead, minimal. But, you know, and drive into the shop to, you know, I have to drive 18 miles. So every time I'm up to the shop, so if it's like a 2-day finish, and so that's the unseen thing. Like, I could, you know, if I sharpen, like yesterday, I sharpened, let me see, two, I sharpened 7 knives yesterday. I didn't have a big heavy workload. I got most of it done earlier in the week. I worked really hard to get everything done so I could just pack everything up. So what's 7 times 25? Somebody do the math for me because, hey Siri, what's 7 times 25? 175. Okay, so, and I did the live feed. I finished the live feed at what, about 9 yesterday morning. I went and did email
The
to
answer is 175.
a little slow on the uptake. Oh, it's because I'm using the majority of the processing power on my phone. So, I mean, that's $175. I did that between about 10 and double edge dagger is not twice the price to sharpen, but we have to play that by ear. So you can get with me. I mean, I'm not going to charge you twice the price, but there's, you know, we have to play it by ear. I usually start at 35 for double edge blades and then work my way, you know, depending on how, like, it depends on how precise you want it to be married and perfect. Like the things you saw, if you saw my Instagram, the things I did for Elijah Isham, those I had to be real precise on how they married on those edges. Anyway, so I was saying, so between 10 and 12:45, because that's when the wife came home and I had to help her start carrying stuff in from Costco. That's when I sharpened all those knives. The rest of the afternoon was spent doing a couple other things. I had some cleanup and maintenance stuff I had to do. All of my stones needed flattened because some of the stuff that I did the day before for my friend Chris, a couple of his knives just dished out a couple stones, like wrecked him a little bit. So, you know, that's $175 in a short period of time. And if I refinish a knife at $100, it's gonna take a good chunk of time. You got to figure it takes. I got to take everything apart, and this is the thing that people are like. I watched the video about anodizing. It seems pretty straightforward. Yeah, okay, but what you're not seeing is disassembly, cleanup, making sure everything's right. If you want the hardware done, I got to have a fixture to do the hardware in to fucking blast it. If you want ceramic on stuff, making sure stuff's clean and proper, because if you've got oils and stuff on it and it's not good and clean, you're not going to get what you want. Proper prep, etching, and then there's a lot of times that shit just doesn't come out right the first time. And that's what I keep trying to tell people. I was like, dude, yeah, I mean, I put it at that price because I know I'm gonna have to redo shit like 2 or 3 times. The average time I can usually do 2 knives a day. I can usually do 2 knives a day, and that's because I'm working on them at the same time. And there's a lot of cursing and swearing involved, and I'm doing the same steps on 2 knives, and I can't do 2 of the same knives. Like I couldn't do, if you sent me, I was like, I got $2. Okay, well I have to do 2 different days because I can't get parts mixed up. Because even as similar as those knives are, there's a chance you get the wrong part in a different knife, and then that's not going to work, and then it's all fucked up. It's like matched wear on guns. You don't take parts from 150 cal machine gun and put them in a different one. You don't do that. They stay together. And so it's, you know, it's those unseen things that people don't see, but all they see is, you know, dude, you want to charge me $150 on a $125 knife? Don't send me that knife to refinish. I was working on a knife for a customer, and he's like, you know, that's kind of expensive, but this is my first high-end knife. And I was like, I didn't want to be a dick. Here's my quandary. I didn't want to be a prick. And I'll do this. We'll give it a whole hour. I'll give it till 7:30 because I really can't make the call until 7:30 or 8 anyway. This was my quandary. I didn't want to pop his bubble because what he had sent me was a Ferrum Force design by Mastrop, and I wanted to tell him, I was like, it's a nice knife, but that's not a high-end knife. He's like, just my first high-end knife. I was like, no, that's not a high-end knife. That's a quality knife, but it's not a high-end knife. And that's where people get their head wrapped around. I paid $100 for this knife, and then they call me and they want me to do something for it, but then they're thinking it's going to be like $30. And it's not. It's not going to be, because I put so much stock in the work I do and the way I want things to look that, like, if you want it to be a $30 job, it's going to have to look like a $30 job. And I refuse to look like a $30 job because I don't want that. I had a guy contact me, and I told him it was like going to be, with sharpening, it was going to be $135 because he just wanted one color, blast, tumble, ano. I was like, I can do that. If I can do that for, I told him, and he's like, and then a 12,000 grit edge. I was like, yeah, I don't know if you want 12,000 on that, but we can give it a try. He's like, okay. And I told him the price, and he goes, wow, man, I wasn't expecting that. He's like, I had a guy that told me he could do the ano for like $35. And I was like, hey, you know what? By all means, I'm not trying to sound like a prick, but if you've got a guy that can do it for $35, then I would go with $35. I mean, that sounds like a sore dick deal. You just can't beat it. And so 3 weeks later, I get a message. He's like, hey, you know, remember when I told you I had a guy that said he could do all the stuff you said you were going to do for $35? I was like, yeah, how'd that come out? And he goes, like I had somebody do it for $35. I was like, well, here's how it went. He messaged me, he said, can I call you? And I was like, yeah, you can call me. He's like, I got the knife back. I need to talk to you about it. And I was like, all right. So can I call you? And I said, yeah. So this is email. I emailed him my phone number. And I was like, he's like, remember I told you I got a guy that could do it for $35? And we're back to this. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I said, how'd it come out? And he goes, came out about like I paid a guy $35 to do it. And so he sent me some pictures and I looked at it. And it wasn't that it was a horrible job. It was just exactly that, the prep. It was obvious that it hadn't been blasted well. It hadn't been etched enough to get any oxide that was off. The blast was inconsistent. The etch was inconsistent. And the ano had obviously been done on a power supply that was not powered the right way. And I don't know what they used as an electrolyte solution, but it had this chalky look to it, and it just had white. And he's like, can you fix this? And I said, yeah, I can fix this. And he's like, but here's the one, because he said he could sharpen it as well. And I was like, oh dear. Oh dear, I saw the ano. Let's see the edge. And so he said, well, I'm not gonna send you pictures of the edge. I'd rather you see it in person. And then he sent it to me, and I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember the old can openers. You remember the can openers? You remember the can openers at your grandma's house that were about the size of this? Guys, I'm not an alcoholic. This is the only reason I still have this. It's fucking empty. I use this in the mornings so I don't have to go out and get my tripod to do my live feeds. This sits here. It's fucking all but empty. I bought this to make fucking sauce when Nico came that time. Anyway, the can openers that were about the size of this that your grandma always had, and on the back it had the slot, and you held down the and the wheel went through it. And it had the pull-through wheel on the back, and it always would fuck up the knife. It looked like someone had used one of those. And he's like, so I called him when I got the knife, and I said, well, here's the thing. And he goes, I know. I said, well, I have to fix this now. He goes, I know. I was like, so I want you to, let's do some math on this. You sent it to a guy for $35. and now you had to send it to me and pay me $135, pretty much that's the base price, and then whatever it's going to cost to repair it. So that initial $135 turned into closer to about 190. And he goes, yeah, I know. But since then, I've sharpened probably 10 or 15 knives for that guy. So, morning, Keith. Hey, Keith, I got something to show you. Hang on just a second. So Keith sent me a unique. I have to clean it up. That's why I started so early. I want to make sure I get this shit mailed off. Your stuff's going out in the mail today. Keith, your knife is nightmarishly sharp and mirror polished. But I wanted to ask you, what knife is this? It looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on it, and I don't see any markings. I know it's a custom. Who made this? This is not a bad little knife at all. Nova Blades Custom. Okay, so I will tell you there is a cloudy spot. You probably won't even be able to see it. I'm real picky. There's a tiny cloudy spot here, and all I think it is every once in a while you get some undissolved carbides where the scratch pattern just kind of sticks around. Just right there, there's some tiny little scratch pattern that no matter how many times I went back down in grit and back up in grit, I think it's just some undissolved, like a cluster of undissolved carbides that just won't polish up. And then also on this side, right at the tip of the edge. Right there at the tip of the edge. I'm just letting you know. I mean, it is, no joke. I wouldn't push on it hard. I wouldn't push on it very hard. This is a nice little knife. I like this. So it just needs, I just need to wash it out real quick. She got some grit in her. So that is done. That's what a 12,000 here. It took a really mirrored edge at 12,000. But at M390 has a tendency to hold some scratch patterns, so you might see some tiny little scratches still on the Micro Typhoon. The heat treat on the production model M390, the production model M390 knives versus the heat treat that we use, it doesn't seem to polish the same, and so it still leaves some little tiny little trailing scratches that Elliot and I talked about. It has to do with the steel and how wear resistant it is. He's like, you're probably just never gonna get them out, no matter how hard you try. That going from one scratch, he's like, you would have to have like 100, a 150, a 200, a 250, a 300, a 350. He's like, to get it as perfect mirror polished as you wanted. He's like, have you ever heard me complain when you do my knife mirror polished? And I was like, no, it's just, but see, both of these are dangerously sharp. So yeah, he does. I'm gonna put some of my cards in there. So that's I really like that little knife. I was surprised when I pulled it out at first. I was like, oh, it's gonna be one of these crappy customs. I just looked at it, just glanced at it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a crappy custom. And then I was like, as I got to messing with it, I was like, this is, because I get so many in, and a lot of times there's some fly by night. And I just glanced at it. I was like, I hadn't even opened it yet. I was like, this is gonna be a nightmare. I was like, this is gonna be a nightmare. And I was like, I'll do it last. And I set it aside, and I grabbed the Micro Typhoon, and I started sharpening it. And then I was like, all right, let's get into the nasty. And snapped it open. I was like, that's some good action. And I started looking at the grinds. I was like, that's a really The only problem I had with it was the pocket clip. Pocket clip seems real stiff. Real stiff, and it's real proud and kind of sharp. That's the only problem I really see with it. It's a little thick. Pocket clip's got more tension than I want, and it's kind of sharp. That's like really the only thing. I had to adjust some of the grinds and stuff, but not really enough that I was gonna have to charge you anything extra. Uh, oh, there's a spot back at the heel where I couldn't get some of the scratch pattern out, but like you said, it's a tank. You're busting on it, so. Um, I wonder if he's going to USN. Maybe I'll catch him at USN and let him know. No joke, guys. Holy crap, it's just peeling them. Just peeling them right off. That's not to be nosy, but how much did you pay for this? Out of curiosity, I'm wondering, because custom market guys is starting to have problems because they're starting to have problems because of this. Custom makers are having problems because of shit like this. 800? Yeah, see, it's great, but it's not 800. In my opinion, it's not $800 worth of great. It's nice and all, and I mean, I understand why it's $800, which is why I'm not a custom knife maker. That's why I make knives as a hobby. At this point, it's real hard to sell a knife for what it's truly worth. I get it. I 100% get it. Like, I had a guy fucking, I was talking to, he was talking about these. I was making a custom one of these, and we were talking about it. And he was like, asking about what they cost to get them made. And I was like, well, I mean, right now, pretty much everything's spoken for. If you were to get one, you'd be at the very tail of the line if there's any available. And if there aren't any available, I will have to hand make a blank and do all that work by hand. And so that would make it even more expensive. But I was like, the ones I had water jetted out and everything are going for about 5 to 6, just depending on handle option, finish option, things like that. And he goes, $500 or $600. He's like, you're not even a real well-made, real known knife maker. And I was like, and I had to go back to the analogy of fucking what I make when I'm at my workbench. And I'm like, okay, it takes about 4 or 5 hours to make a set of handles and get them all married up and then mocked up and then all the fittings and everything ready. Just the handles. That's like a day. That's like a whole work day of just making handles. I said, that's just that part. So basically, all you're paying for is the fucking handles. You get the whole knife for free, and it takes days to make the fucking knife. And he's like, oh, I didn't think of it like that. I was like, no one ever fucking does. We have gotten to the point where things, I mean, I'm glad we have cheaper products available, but we've kind of gotten to a point where you can't get. Okay, so you guys know I like Bolter AVE. Great guy, great comedian. Fucking, he should have been a stand-up comedian. You don't like the clip? I mean, you gotta live with what you got. So, Bolter AVE, he was talking about drills and twist drills. And okay, for those of you that never really were into tools that much, drill bits. There we go. I'll say it for you guys. Drill bits. But he was talking about, like, the fact is you can't go to Home Depot and buy a set of quality drill bits anymore. You can't. There's so many cheap, and it's not that you can't buy quality drill bits, because the Chinese ones, as he says, the Chinese ones are pretty good bits. But where you lose is in how they're packaged, and the drill index, and it's crappy, and how they fall apart, and then, and sometimes the way the chuck interface is cut is a little cheaper. He said, so you're still getting a fairly quality drill, but everything else is crappy. He said, but then you can't find anything good because they know that they have a hard time selling it, because it's like, Here's a $12 one, here's a $12 one, here's a $12 one, here's a $12 one, here's a $48 one that's collecting dust that they're spending, that they could replace that with another three $12 ones and make money, because even though there's a fucking $48 one that they, yeah, hey, 48 bucks, there we go. If it's sitting on the shelf collecting dust, it's not making them any money. Why not replace that item with another $12 item that they know they can sell? That's why you can't, that's why they know they can't sell it. That's why they don't stock it anymore. And so those items, quality items, are becoming a thing of the past. Find a refrigerator that lasts. I gotta replace this fucking refrigerator. It's starting to not work. We've only had this refrigerator for 6 years. My grandparents' refrigerator that they got rid of when I was in high school was the same refrigerator they bought the year my mother graduated. They bought a brand new Frigidaire the year my grandmother graduated high school and went to nursing college. They bought a brand new one the year I graduated high school. Or, well, no, I was younger than that. They bought a new one, they refinished the kitchen. I was probably 10 then. They had that fucking thing for the better part of fucking 30 years. Yeah, 30 years. At a minimum, they had that thing. You can't buy something that lasts for 30 years anymore. And it's a shame. It's a shame that you can't buy a quality product that lasts that long, except in the knife world. In the knife world, you truly can. This knife will last for fucking ever. This knife will outlive me. My daughter will have this and be able to give it to, as long as you maintain this, it's fine. You can't even say that about cars anymore. Used to be, if you maintained a car, you could have that thing, you could pass it to your kids. You could have a car that you gave to your children. I have no illusions that we're gonna have to replace these cars in the next few years. Mine's got damn near 100,000 miles, and it's a diesel. I can get a lot more out of mine on a diesel. My wife's is a hybrid. I can get a lot more miles out of hers because the engine only runs half the time, half as much. Especially on the city miles is when it counts. That's hard on the engine. But the fact is, things just are not built the same. But they're safer. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem with it. I don't have a problem. My Volkswagen, I can honestly say my Volkswagen has, in the time I've owned it, has only cost me money. It's never cost me any money. I've never had a maintenance issue with that car that has cost me money, knock wood. Never once. Never once. I've had, just outside of just standard general maintenance. It has standard general maintenance it has to have done. And it has one that's due, that's an expensive one. It's about a $600 maintenance fee. And that's because it has that dual shift gearbox. And so the maintenance on that is fucking expensive as shit. So, but I can't complain about it. I've never had an issue with that. Tires, I've just had tires. The wife's car, tires, oil changes. So, I mean, it's, why is the trash truck just now coming when yesterday was trash day? Today's Friday, right? Today's not Thursday? Give me just a second, check something. Apparently, the truck for blue bins didn't come yesterday and it's just now showing up. So, I had something else I want to talk about. Oh, I was talking about the dry toast fucking YouTube channels where the guys aren't, like, they're just the monotone presenter style. I don't know. But those channels seem to do so well. Maybe I just need to find somebody that's just less animated to narrate my stuff for me. Oh boy, guys, it's gonna be a long day. I gotta go to the shop. I got work to do. David's stuff. I gotta, before I do any of that, I gotta mail this stuff up. Uh-oh, my sister sent me something. 15 people here and only 9 thumbs up. Apparently there's a bunch of y'all who don't like me. Like, I don't know, 6 of you. 6 of you that don't think my video is worth a thumbs up. It hurts. Hurts. Guys, I'm half-hearted about it, but like the thing is, like, now there's more thumbs up than there are people. I'm joking about it, but like, because it's not like I make money on it and things. Thoughts on 20CV? Ben, you can go back and watch so many of my videos and hear me talk about 20CV. 20CV is like one of my favorite steels out there. It's what I make all of my knives in. If you can talk to, if you go on Instagram and find Dwayne Smotherman, Charles Anderson in Sweden, those guys up. Where are you guys all going? Like 13 of y'all now. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ask for likes. Sorry, I didn't mean to run everybody off by asking for likes. No, 20CV is an amazing steel. It holds up really well. I'm starting to notice that depending on heat treat, you don't want to take it too high. Elliot's done a couple different heat treats on production knives. And I've noticed that there's a couple of his knives that don't like to go real high up in grit that were done in 20CV. One of them being the Master Blaster. So I don't know what some of them don't like the super, super high grits as much as others. And it's all got to be heat treat, because when I do an in-house heat treat like we do, and like he did on the Con, and I sharpen every one of the Cons, it's great. It's beautiful all the way up to 10, 12,000 grit. And I take his stuff to 10 when I do knives for him. But, you know, 20CV is a great steel. It's a good all-around steel. Big Brown Bear and I disagree. He loves Rex 121 and Maximet, and I keep trying to tell him, it's like, it might be a great steel. It could be. I have an issue with the way it sharpens and things like that, and the things with it being difficult for the average user. And I mean, if it's difficult for me, it's going to be real hard for a lot of people. And so I just don't see it as a viable thing. I think that a good all-around street. I'm probably going to send it to you to heat treat. Okay, I've done heat treat for a couple of guys on here before. Price of heat treat's going to go up. If I do it in the summer, price of heat treat goes up. Yeah, I'm curious about that too, but I would hazard you get with me about Rockwell. Me and Elliot have had this discussion about Rockwell. If you're looking at Rockwell as just to judge steels, it's not the matrix you want to use. It is not the metrics to judge steel. It's just what somebody used it a long time ago. Oh, not for heat treat? Okay. But here's the thing. When it comes down to it, really, who really fucking cares what the Rockwell is on a fucking blade half the time? Because I've had steels that were way lower on Rockwell that held an edge way better than a knife that was higher on a Rockwell. And then I've had shit that was way high on the Rockwell that held an edge really, really long, but chipped. But then you've got stuff like when we do in-house heat treat on 20CV, where you're up around 63, 64-ish on the Rockwell. And you can ask Dwayne Smotherman, he beats the shit out of that knife I made for him. He says he can't even tell that he's used it. He says it doesn't chip, doesn't crack, doesn't fucking roll. So that fucking Rockwell is not what you want. There's got to be some other kind of testing that's a better viable thing. But we've used HRC or RHC, the Rockwell scale, for so long now that everybody just thinks that's the one, and the higher the Rockwell, the better. Well, that's not necessarily true. Just because the Rockwell's higher doesn't mean it's gonna perform better. You know, because I got news for you. Glass is way up on the Rockwell, like off the charts. But you can't you can't keep an edge on it because it's brittle. So I kind of skirted away. I've never had any of my blades tested. Because the flip side of that too is even, God, I miss the guy, Matt Freeman, big fucking kitty. Matt Freeman would tell you that the Rockwell testing, he had a Rockwell tester and he could tell you that it's subjective. Even he was the one that would tell you, you know, you can run the same test 3 different times and get 3 different readings. So, you know, and the variance is so high, it's just not a good fucking test. And these people that just throw a fit about Rockwell being off by like 0.2. Do you know why they round it up? Do you know why they round it up? Because it has a 2-point variance. That's why when you get, if I was to go get my box that my Sebenza came in, it's listed as between a range because they're smart enough to know that there's a 2-point variance. Either way. Actually, it should be 4. I think it's 2 points from, this is your target. So this is what I got. So you're going to give it 2 points either way. So it's like a 4-point variance. If I remember, Elliot and I were talking about the standards. And I'm like, here's the thing. You know what? Like it's such a subjective thing. And this whole thing about people throwing a fit about this stuff, I don't want to throw it out there and sound like a dick. It's people that really don't know enough about what they're talking about or doing to. And I mean, I don't want to sound like, because I'm trying to keep it, because I have a tendency that I'll say things and people take it out of context, and I'm really not trying to call anyone out because the thing is, this stuff gets put up. So let's go back to the Benchmade. Let's go back to the Benchmade holdout or bug out, the 3V thing. So, no, okay. I can run that machine one way. You can run it one way, and fucking get different answers. So if there's that much variance, then it's not empirical. That data is subjective. It depends on who's running the machine, who's looking at the dial, how they're running the machine. You know, and this is where I was getting at the bug out thing in 3V. The guy that was on Instagram, and the only thing that anybody ever wanted to send me was from this guy, and it showed the test device, and it's an old school dial type, and I'm like, I don't want to get into that one because there's 3 reasons. One, I don't know the guy's qualifications. 2, I don't know how he's running the tests. And 3, they can tell me all they want about that equipment, but you know, that's an old school machine. So those 3 things together, you know, the big 2 being, the last 2 being, you know, I don't know, you know, that machine's being old and I don't know where it's being done. And then the fact is that the person that's actually doing the testing for that guy will not say where he works, who he works for, any of that information. So we don't know any of his qualifications. All he's saying is, well, trust me, he works. Well, I don't trust anyone, first of all, especially not after the shit that happened with the Blade Show fiasco. And like we were on the verge of buying tickets and the whole sponsorship of my daughter's ice skating. I don't trust anyone anymore. I didn't trust people very much to begin with, and I trust them even less now. But who's to say that the guy that's doing this isn't the night cleanup guy? I'm not saying he is, but I also ain't saying he isn't. You see what I'm saying? I don't know anything about the person doing the testing. I don't know anything about the equipment. And so with those things all being in the haze, I'm not gonna fucking take any of that data at stock value. Does that make sense? So, my dog's having a nightmare. Here? Having a dream. So, and so Elliot and I were talking about it, and the whole thing with that is that that data cannot be without knowing for sure the person's qualifications, for sure that the equipment has been tested. So you can tell me that that equipment has been certified once every 45 days. You can tell me that that person runs that shop, but without knowing for sure, that's not good. I put creamer in there and it didn't change colors. Yeah, he did. But there's so much there. And this is, Elliot and I talk about this stuff a lot. Because Rockwell, at this point, who gives a fuck about Rockwell? Because I've had knives at 59 that outperform knives at 63. I've had knives at 63 outperform knives at 67. They were like sold at 67, and then you get them and they just won't hold an edge. I had a guy send me a knife that was in, I forget what steel it was, and he was saying, oh, it's the next big thing, and it's this great, and it just wound up being, I looked it up, and it's an old school 1950s tool steel that they used to use for twist drills that you can harden fairly hard, but it's a high carbon tool steel. And he's like, oh, it's this great shit. And by the time I got done sharpening it, it was starting to rust. And I was like, don't get me wrong, it took a really good edge, but I'm like, people get this misconception. It's like AEBL. And there is another one out there. So AEBL, if you tell somebody that there's a knife maker making stuff in AEBL, and they're like, oh man, that stuff's great. But did you know there's an 8CR variant, which everybody's like, oh, that's shit. It's the exact same steel. You know? There's AEBL has a fucking CR variant, like a Chinese variant, that is exact same steel. And everybody's like, oh, that's garbage fucking steel, fucking throw it away, put it in the trash. It's a fucking garbage gas station knife because it's made with that steel. But yet people are charging a premium for knives made in AEBL, but it's the same fucking steel. That'd be like saying, oh, don't fucking buy that knife, that's in 20 CV, buy that one, it's an M390. The fuck goes on in people's heads sometimes. So, all right, guys, it's been an hour. I gotta pay these people before they send the fucking knee breakers after me. The fucking mafiosos in fucking suits with fucking ball bats and shit. So, 13C. I'll tell you what. It doesn't take a real great edge. It doesn't feel sharp when you're sharpening it. Aaron Frederick and I were talking about that. Speaking of which, Aaron and I will be hanging out in Vegas. So expect some fun shit on the channel when that happens. Next month. Same bat time, same bat channel. See you guys. What was that? I love Aaron. That guy's great. He's like me with a thicker accent and a flat top. Maybe a little heavier, a little shorter. We're like the same. His wife said that at the Vegas show. We were standing, God damn it, here I'm past 60 minutes. We stood in the fucking corner drinking beer and started bullshitting and we had met just that minute. And within 5 minutes, we were fucking Navy drinking buddies. Just standing there, fucking Nico was running and getting beers and she looked at me and I'm wearing a Jack Daniels shirt, this hat, fucking cowboy boots, standing there bullshitting with him. She's like, Jesus, there was two of you. There's fucking two of you. So, holy crap, Kenny, hey, get a hold of Ashton about that knife. I don't know if he still has it, but DM him about it. He said you didn't get a hold of him, I think. So, yep, I'm out of here, guys. It's been 65 minutes. I got packing up stuff to do. I will talk to y'all later. Later. Where's